Okay, we're here. We're back. We're talking about another IEM. We're talking about, honestly, in my opinion, one of the better IEMs to kind of come out in the $50 price range. And if you're wondering what that is, I'm going to tell you here just a second. I will say, a little prelude to it, this was tuned by the one, the only, the Crinacle. And there are a few different IEMs that he actually went through and tuned, like some of the, the Moondrop Blessing to Dusk editions, and I mean, he's kind of infamous for making like really, really good profiles. So without further ado, here it is. This is what we're talking about today. This is the Truthear Zero Red Edition. And I guess kind of let's get into it. As I was mentioning before, Crinacle comes out and does collaborations with companies, basically getting his specific tuning to whatever specific IEM that they're kind of asking for. And with this one, it's like it's not even a refresh. It's a newer version of something that they already came out with, because they've already released the Truthear Zeros, and those were honestly, when they came out, they were pretty well liked, and it's kind of the same for this one. I haven't listened to the original Zeros, but I do know that from the graphs that I've seen, these ones are a little bit more on the bassy side. And because of that, they're very pleasant to listen to and game with and everything like that. I'll kind of go over a little bit more whenever we kind of go into some of the things that I liked about this. Now, this isn't going to be like a specifically like technical video. I'm not going through any of the tech. I'm not going to really even read any of the technical specifications, because I kind of just want this to be about how I like them and how, whenever I listen to them, the things that I actually noticed. So when it comes to the unboxing, it's honestly really, really nicely laid out, and like it has a sleeve, it has like a really nicely laid out box, and inside of the box it has a lot of accessories, which are honestly pretty, I can't really complain about them. So inside, I guess there is like a pleather pouch that has, it's basically where you're going to house the IEMs whenever you're not using them. And it's nice and soft inside as compared to like something like the less expensive Truthear Olas, and with that it was just kind of like a real pleathery, but this has like a soft inside, so it'll kind of keep them protected and not scratch them up a little bit. It has a bunch of silicone ear tips, and I was a little hesitant about these because, I mean, honestly, some of my favorite ear tips are the spring ear tips, but I haven't changed these. These have been pretty well liked from myself since I put them on, and like one of the differences is some of the tips, some of them have a narrow opening, while some of them have more of a wider opening. I've had them on the narrow openings, and because of that, I've enjoyed what I've been listening to. Another thing that this comes with is a little tiny adapter, and the adapter is basically a 10 ohm adapter that is going to give you a little bit of a bass boost at the lower end. Here it is, kind of look at it. I mean, it's kind of cool. The whole concept of it is actually, yeah, it's a 10 ohm adapter. You can read that right there. But other than that, it has a tiny little bit, a tiny little stand for the waifu, because what is anything IEMs without the waifu? Yeah. The design is pretty much the same as a lot of other ones. It's like the triangular shape. It has a little bit of a bump that kind of goes on the inner part of your ear that is able to go and kind of rest a little bit easier. These are pretty comfortable. I cannot really complain about how sitting in my ears. Didn't get a lot of fatigue. Didn't get a lot of, they're not heavy. So it didn't weigh down my ears. It didn't give me any fatigue wearing them for maybe a few hours, which I was kind of surprised about, because I know that the Blessings, they're a little heavier, so they kind of give you that more fatiguing feel in your ear. It kind of gets a little bit sore, and you're just like, hey, I fucking hate this. I will say that the red is a nice little cherry on top, because it really is nice and it really looks good. And whatever that thing is underneath it, I absolutely have no clue what it is. It just looks like random pieces of wire that was whatever. To add on to that, the build quality, I was really surprised to learn that these weren't resin. These are kind of the same way as the Blessings, in which they are, I think it's like the 3D LP printing. So these were 3D printed. These aren't resin casted or anything like that. These were 3D printed, so it's kind of, it makes them a little bit more available because you're easily able to actually produce them. And a lot of the production is just like letting it print. And I actually thought that was kind of cool. I guess we'll kind of get into like the sound and everything like that. So there were a couple things that I kind of went through and tested, not specifically, but also specifically. So I did like acoustic, I did classical, I did metal, and I did hip hop for the music listening to. And then I did some gaming. And for the games, I went with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 because that's the only FPS game that I play on a regular basis. And I played Ghostwire Tokyo, which honestly, after I played a little bit of it for this video, I started playing it, and I started playing it, and I started playing it until I beat it. And yeah. I will say that I've been using these for a little bit over a month, and I found that that was actually a really good indicator of how these will feel in the long run. Instead of going like a quick and dirty, I got these, I listened to them for about 5 minutes, and because of that, I'm an expert on them. So I kind of put them through the paces. I've been using them for work, I've been using them for editing, I've been using them for everything like that. I will say with the editing, I don't really suggest them because they are definitely boosted on the low ends, and I'll kind of show you a little bit of the graph like right here, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about, but it's kind of like the Harman curve. I'm not going to get into that one. For the acoustic songs, I kind of have a little bit of a some stuff that I wrote. So for the acoustic songs, since I said it was definitely boosted in the lower end, the acoustic guitar sounds were very bassy, and it kind of brought out the vocals of the whoever was singing. I mean, honestly, again, I went with City and Colors, The Girl, because it's one of my favorite songs of all time. And just the way that his voice kind of blended in, and how the guitar was noticeably like bassy on the low end, but some of the strings that he kind of did the whole strumming with, it came out really well. It sounded really good, and it mixed them well without being too punchy or too noticeably fadey into it. It's a really good mixture of both of them, you know? So for the metal songs, I really enjoyed the low end of this because there was a lot of emphasis on the kick drums. And because of that, you got a really good separation of like the snare, the kick drums, the cymbals, and like the guitar and everything like that. And it wasn't like, it's not a planar. It is a dual driver. So you're not going to get like those super punchy changes. It's going to go through and it's going to actually fade into them. And I think it did really, really good with the metal, especially since metal is kind of known for being punchy and everything like that. Yeah, like I said, it was more of a blended separation as less of a sharp separation that you get from the planars. Hip hop bass was, I kind of went through and did a bunch of the stuff like J. Cole, some random whatever kind of stuff I was listening to at the moment. I really, really, really enjoyed like the multiple tones that you would get from whatever beat was going through, because a lot of the times there are different styles. It's just like some of it can be like that traditional kind of like hi-hat and snare kind of sound, and then some of it can add like a little bit of violin and stuff like that. It treated every single one of those like equally as well. Because of that, it was like a really good, it was a really good listening experience. That, and kind of combined with the fact that you can actually sit and use these for a couple hours, it wasn't a listening experience that you had to stop immediately because your ears hurt, you know? So now with the classical, I went through and I just listened to some basic like orchestral kind of stuff. I can't remember exactly what I listened to, but the same with everything up there. Like the thing that I'm kind of emphasizing on this is like the blended separation of the music and how good it sounds, especially with the boost in the low ends and like that V shape at the end from the graph I showed a little bit earlier. So with this also, I tested all of these with the adapter and with the out the adapter. With the acoustic songs, I did like it with the adapter because it did boost that low end with the 10 ohms. Metal, I preferred it without the adapter. Hip hop, I kind of preferred it without the adapter. In classical, I preferred it without the adapter. So pretty much the acoustic songs is kind of the one, the big outlier when it comes to whether or not they use the adapter, but also that kind of just depends on whether you like it bassy or whether you don't like it bassy. So, when it comes to gaming, I was surprised. The environmental sounds were actually pretty accurate. I was able to tell where footsteps were. I was able to tell where gunshots were. I was able to tell where pretty much anything was. I mean, we all know how noisy it gets whenever somebody yells that they're reloading. I was able to hear that. And because of that, it really didn't affect my gaming in a negative manner. The bullets are really punchy, and I really, really enjoyed that as well. This, I did kind of like it with the adapter, but it also sounded amazing without the adapter. So that one is definitely more of a personal taste. You won't really gain any sort of you wouldn't gain any advantage from using the adapter versus not using the adapter. It's just kind of whatever you find would be a little bit better. Now, Ghostwire, different story. I did not use the adapter for that because there was a lot of different sounds in there that were very like mid and high while kind of having that tiny little ambiance of low end. If you get my drift, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, everything like blended together really, really well, and just like the eerie sounds, and then like the sounds of some of like the drums that you would hear whenever you would collect something, the sound of like some of the coins that you would collect. It sounded really, really nice, especially the fact that it was more on the higher notes than the lower notes. And then all of the ambient noises just really, really kind of shined through this without the adapter. Kind of just with going over all of my stuff, I really like these. I like these a lot. These are something that I'm still using because they're honestly really good. And if you're wondering what these cost, these are $54.99 right now on Amazon or Shenzhen Audio. I'll go ahead and put the links below, so if you're interested, go ahead and use that link. Just a little FYI, I do get a kickback if anybody uses any of my Amazon links, so if you do that, I'm appreciative and I love you. But anyways, I really like these. I'm going to use these for a long while. I'm going to try them out with different cables. I will say that the cables they come with are a little stiff, not particularly my favorite, but they work really, really well. So I'm going to keep testing these out. I'm going to keep maybe post a short here or there, kind of giving you a little bit more of a longer term kind of scenario with these, but I would 100% suggest these. These are probably one of my favorite sub $100 IEMs. I mean, we all know how much I love the Chews. We all know how much I actually enjoyed the Olas. But these really, for like 55 bucks, kind of slap really fucking hard. That's really the only thing I can say. These are really good. And the packaging, the fact that it comes with different ear tips, the fact that it's just like a really nice, really solid IEM really surprises me at that price point. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys are having a great day, great night, great weekend, great week, great year, great millennia. I know things got a little awkward. And on that note, love you, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.